A very good afternoon and thank you for keeping it TV47. You're watching Newsfeed with me, Ruth Mulandi, on this beautiful Palm Sunday. And that's where we begin our bulletin today, where Palm Sunday has been marked across the country this morning. However, in churches in 5 counties of Nairobi, Kiambu, Nakuru, Kajiado and Machakos, church leaders marked the day without their followers physically, following the ban on physical services. However, the service was marked in other counties. In Kiambu County, Father Martin of St. Joseph Kera blessed the palm and urged Christians in the parish to pick them.
Tunaelewa mwongozo wa serikali kwa ajili ya kuwalinda na kujilinda sisi wenyewe. Tumeamua kufanya ibada yetu bila waumini leo. Lakini katika kufanya hivyo tunawakumbuka waumini wetu wote ambao wanashiriki pamoja nasi hata wakiwa manumbani mwao. Tunawakumbuka sana, tunawaombea.
Now, at least 23 people have been arrested with 11 motorcycles and 10 vehicles impounded after police in Kikuyu and Kabete in Kiambu County last night enforced the curfew in a joint operation. Some of the suspects were found selling alcohol against the president's directive. According to Kabete Sub-County Police Commander Samuel Maina, the arrested persons will be arraigned in court tomorrow.
Where we have managed to arrest 23 people for violation of curfew. We have impounded 11 motorcycles and 10 motor vehicles. These ones will be arraigned in court on 29th, that is on Monday, 29th of March 2021. And this operation will continue until such a time when it will be deemed fit to stop it. This is not an ordinary time, and it's an extraordinary time, and extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures.
Now, barely 2 days after President Uhuru Kenyatta announced a cessation of movement into and out of 5 counties, GSU officers have already mounted a roadblock at Katumani Junction at the border of Machakos, Makueni counties. Assistant Superintendent of Police Evans Mose from the GSU unit has confirmed that they have already mounted the roadblock as directed. Most PSV drivers were tensed, with some dropping passengers near the roadblock, though police officers had to intervene and have the passengers board the PSVs to their destinations. The government reviewed the deadline to this evening at 8 p.m. to allow those who had been locked in the 5 counties, to leave.
Watu tumejaribu kuwafuata huko, tukawaelezea hatuna ubaya, ni kuwaelezea ile kitu inatakikana mfanye kuanzia vile ilitangazwa na president. So tunaendelea kuwahimiza na kama tunashirikiana vizuri na wanaelewa. Ombi langu kwa ile watu wanatumia hii barabara ni kwamba tunawahimiza ya kwamba katika hii wakati imetangazwa siku 60 ndio tuweze kukapa hii ugonjwa ya COVID-19. Watu waishi mahali wanakaa, kama sio lazima watembee, wakae mahali wanakaa, so that ndio tuweze kupunguza hii ugonjwa. Sababu watu wakiendelea kupita wataendesha hii ugonjwa rahisi.
Now, still on curfew implementation, Kiambu County Police Boss Ali Nuno is appealing to employers to release their workers early enough to comply with the newly imposed curfew. Nuno noted that most employers are keeping their employees until late in the evening, thereby delaying their journey home before 8 p.m. when the curfew orders take effect. While clarifying that the government does not restrict anyone from going to work both day and night shifts, Nuno insisted that employees who serve in companies that operate 24 hours should be facilitated to be either at home early or at their workstations before the curfew time. The police boss was speaking during his impromptu night inspection in Thika Town and various roadblocks within the county.
We have tried our best. I think we have gone round so that people comply with the curfew orders and the Ministry of Health and protocols regarding the COVID-19. All is well. We are on top of gears and people are obeying the curfew orders as directed. However, one challenge we are facing with is that, and I want to appeal to the employers, they are keeping the employees at the workplace up to late in the evening. According to the orders, by 8, the curfew orders will take effect. So people are taking a long way to travel back home. And I'm appealing to the employers to release their employees in good time so that they can meet the deadline.
Now, faithful from the Akorino Church are calling on President Uhuru Kenyatta to ease the restrictions put on the churches following the rise in the numbers of the coronavirus. The faithful say the closure of the churches has affected their services and how they worship.
Akiwa peke yake. Wakorino tunaweza penda kugosho, tunapenda kugosha sana, lakini kigosho yetu hatuwezi kugosha tukiwa mtu mmoja. Kwa hivyo tunaomba ya kwamba tutafuata hiyo mawazo imewekwa, lakini tuweze sheria hiyo tuifuate kabisa, lakini ndio tupate kufanya vyenye rais wetu amesema, na ni tutafuata hata kwa sababu Mungu anatuwezesha.
Imetuumiza tu kwa sababu kila mtu aweze kukaa bila ugonjwa. Hata kama tumeumia, tunasema tu Mungu atatusaidia na Mungu ako nasi.
Members of the clergy in Narok County have thrown their weight behind President Uhuru Kenyatta's revised directives on the containment of the COVID-19 pandemic while urging Kenyans to obey them to the latter. Led by Bishop John Lepokoi, the PAG Church in Narok, the men of the cloth have called upon their counterparts in counties where churches were not shut down to not drop their guards. The churches in Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado and Machakos counties were given the green light to go on with physical services in President Uhuru Kenyatta's address last week on Friday.
Sisi kama kanisa ama mimi mwenyewe nataka kuhimiza watu kwamba mdungwe hiyo, mkubali, kwa sababu ishara afya lazima wamefanya uchunguzi na wameangalia inafaa. Kwa hivyo nataka kueleza watu kwamba mhakikisha kwamba hilo jambo mfuate na mdungwe, kwa sababu ni serikali wanajali maisha yenu na vile vile Mungu pia anajali maisha yenu.
Hii virus ni kweli, virus ipo na lazima tuchukulie kwa umakini na maana yale mambo ambayo yanasemekana haswa katika sekta yetu ya afya, na ni ya muhimu sana. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka kusema kama mchungaji na mhubiri hapa Narok na mwangalizi wa makanisa letu katika jimbo hili, ya kwamba tuichukulie mambo haya kwa umaanani sana.
A section of boda riders in Kutus, Kirinyaga County are crying foul after being accused of perpetrating cases of insecurity in the area. Although they do not rule out rogue riders in the boda sector plying the area, the riders have dismissed claims that they have been behind the rising cases of insecurity. They are now accusing security officers of harassing them instead of trading their guns on the real criminals. This comes amid rising cases of theft in Kutus.
Hiyo acha niseme pia si watu wa Ndudhi wekaga security. Hatuwezi pata wakola amekuja tu kuimba place fulani watoke na hizo vitu, watoke na bidhaa zao mtu. Bado watatupata hapo tumegoma tukiwaongoja. Lakini saa hii karau juu hata wamejifanya vile wanajua, si tunaweza pata wakora wamekuja na tuondoke. Tunaweza ondokea kwa sababu tukienda hapo kuulizia unaweza sikia watu wa Ndudhi ndo walikuwa hapo sijui. kidogo kidogo usikie mmoja wetu ameshikwa ndo anaenda kufanywa investigation huko ati either yeye alikuwa hapo ndo aliiba ndo alifanya hiyo kitu. Pia tumekataa.
Watu wanaporwa mali, especially watoto wa university hapa wanapora masimu na laptop. Imekuwa kiwango hata kama ukienda pahali uchelewe kidogo, ukifika mjini huwezi tembea hata kilomita 1 ama nusu bila mtu wa bodaboda, so lazima ubebwe. Sasa kitu yenye naweza sema kwa serikali yetu ni kwamba wasikamane na hawa watu wa bodaboda. Hawa watu wa bodaboda waliingia kwa chama, hakuna mtu hatujui.
Imekuwa ni mwimba ambayo inahusishwa watu wa bodaboda wanakuwa tainted image, ati watu wa bodaboda wanafanya uharibifu hata mchana, na sio sisi ambao ni watu wa bodaboda ni watu wenye andambu ya juu na tunakuanga na discipline kwa hiyo industry ya bodaboda. Wale wanafanya hiyo tambia ya kupora watu mpaka mchana na kumbuleki manduka za watu ni watu ambao wanajulikana na serikali, wako hii area ya mjini, na najua serikali iko na mkono mrefu. Kwa hivyo tunajua serikali itafanya kazi.
Now, following the rise in the number of teenage pregnancies due to closure of learning institutions last year, Kikuyu mothers under the umbrella of Nyakinywa have taken up an initiative to educate girls on how to conduct themselves in this third wave of the coronavirus that has led to the closure of physical learning. The group chairperson, Mary Wamui Wamboi, who is also the Gikondi Ward MCA in Mukurweni, says they are going to work with Kikuyu elders in Kiama to teach the young girls on how to be responsible.
We are going to cover all areas because we can teach them in Christianity how should they behave, praying very much, and they going to church so that they run from the teaching that they get from the church. Again, on the Kikuyu side, they should not, when they are dealing with when they are dealing with the men generally, they should respect them. They should not be very close to them.
Hawa wajukuu wetu tuanze sasa kuwafundisha vile wanaweza kuwa wasichana wazuri, vile wanaweza kukaa mpaka mtu aolewe apate bwana yake na akae vile ataweza kukaa nyumbani kwake.
So we tend to tell them atuwakatazi yote, lakini ujue huyu ni mtu tofauti na wewe. This is the right pole and you are the negative. So when a right pole and a negative and a positive meet, there is a reaction there.
The Kenya Union of Special Needs Education Teachers has called on the Ministry of Education to increase the capitation funds for the sake of special needs students. The newly elected Union Secretary General James Torome said that the union is focused on service delivery for teachers and students with special needs. Torome urged that the funds allocated for infrastructure development in special needs schools should not be misused, and also called on the union members to be patient concerning the collective bargaining agreement, insisting that the union will make a major announcement on 1st July this year. Torome was speaking after the conclusion of national elections held in Narok, where he was elected unopposed.
Baadhi ya shule hazina zile barabara za mtu aliye na wheelchair au kiti cha magurudumu kupitia. Kwa hivyo hawa wakubwa au wakuu wa hizi shule tunawaambia waweze kufanya that adjustment, na sio kufanya tu hiyo adjustment, iko kwa the Person with Disabilities Act 2007, na pesa ziko, wawache ulaghai. Tulipotia kidole ule mkataba pale Naivasha, tuliweza kuwa tumefikisha ile 51%. Hiyo ni kusema ya kwamba tulikuwa na walimu zaidi ya 9,001. Tumebakisha wengine 9,000, na tunawaambia haraka iwezekanavyo. By the time tunasaini hii CBA, tutawagonga agency fee. Tu ni majibu kutoka kwa ile tume ya kuratibu mishahara. Ile ikitoka tu ndio nitaweza kuiweka kwa the public domain. But as per now, I'm telling the SNE teachers, wherever they are in this country, be ready for good things comes 1st July.
We are requesting that you do the necessary, the government to do the necessary by increasing the capitation, or else they buy for us. If they think we are the teachers, the head teachers are misusing this money, then they buy for us this equipment. We shall have now in a problem. Let them buy for us. We will appreciate.
Zile grants ambazo zinatolewa, tungependa kwamba zifike katika shule zetu kwa wakati mzuri. Pia hizi pesa zinapotoka zitoke kwa wakati mzuri, kwa sababu wale ambao ni wasaidizi wa hawa watoto waweze kupewa mishahara yao, waweze kushughulikiwa ili kwamba pia wao waweze kuishi vizuri.
Now, today being the first Sunday after the directive by the president banning all physical services, many churches held their services online. Our reporter Mwangi Maina is doing a spot check in various churches across the city and now joins us live. Mwangi, how is the situation in the places of worship?
Thank you so much, Ruth Mulandi. I'm getting you loud and clear. We are in an Orthodox church in Kawangware here in Nairobi. This church had been closed since morning up to now. It is one of the many churches here in the city and 4 other counties that will remain closed if they do not have the ability to broadcast live their services on social media platforms. One of these churches and many others in the counties of Kiambu, Nairobi, Kajiado and Machakos will remain closed until such a time that COVID-19 infections in those counties has been contained. Ruth, maybe to let you know that most of the churches that we attended today, services were being conducted online. Inside the church, there were not so many members who are there. It was only the priests or the presiding ministers and a few members of the choir who were inside the church as the service was going on. Ruth, we have visited the Holy Family Basilica here in the city. We have visited All Saints Cathedral, including the Nairobi Baptist Church, and it was the same picture in all those churches, that only few members of the choir were there and those people who were conducting the services. Maybe, Ruth, to let you know that in all those churches there were not more than 15 people, and those are members of the choir who were not there. So, Ruth, it is a clear indication, or rather it is a clear picture, that churches have adhered to the government's directive that required all churches within the 5 counties that have been classified as one disease-infested areas, religious services to be halted until further notice, until such a time that those churches, or rather at such a time that COVID-19 infections in those counties will be contained. So, Ruth, that was the situation in most of the churches today and in the following Sundays to come, until such a time the rate of infection in those counties, including here in Nairobi, will be contained. Back to you in studio, Ruth. My name is Mwangi Maina.
Thank you so much for that update, Mwangi Maina. Of course, a detailed story on that will be in our subsequent bulletins. Now, moving on, in Nairobi, many Kenyans are now in the rush to the villages following the government's extension of the expiry of the deadline to move into and out of the 5 counties under cessation of movement. Andreen Kilemi is in the Central Business District and now joins us live. Andreen, how is the situation right now? We shall get that detailed update by Andreen Kilemi in a few minutes. Maybe she's composing herself. So we move on where we move on to our next story, which is a section of boda riders in Kutus, Kirinyaga County are crying foul after being accused of perpetrating cases of insecurity in the area. Although they did not rule out of rogue riders in the boda sector plying the area, the riders have dismissed claims that they have been behind the rising cases of insecurity. Now that story will also be given to us later, and we move on to the next story, where with possibly new elected political alignments in the offing of 2022 general elections drawing near, the hint of a possible working relationship between ODM leader Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto has continued to raise political eyebrows and reactions from various leaders in various regions. A section of leaders from the Mount Kenya region have expressed concern on the region's political stand come 2022, with some saying there is division and lack of direction as political alignments are at a forming stage.
There is even a proposal that Ruto and Raila might unite going forward 2022. It's a proposal, it is not confirmed, but in politics we say there are no permanent enemies and there are no permanent friends. People can always come together and join and form a movement. You've also seen Musalia Mudavadi and Gideon Moi and Wetangula and Kalonzo come together and say they want to have a united front. But the problem is that they are only saying that they want to rally against Ruto. And this tells us as something in our republic. Everybody wants to come closer to Ruto or where he is. And therefore, it means there's a lot of strength on the political destiny of Ruto. Because 4 people joining to fight one person only tells us the political happenings on the ground as we start right now. But we are seeing the issue of Mount Kenya region in general. What's the position of the Mount Kenya people going forward come 2022? We have seen people like Didi Nyoro, we have seen people like Mwangi Kiujori, we have seen people like Martha Karua who seem to understand the politics of the Mount Kenya region and going forward. I think we need to take a position earliest.
Now we go back to our story earlier, where many Kenyans in Nairobi are now in the rush to the villages following the government's extension of the expiry of the deadline to move into and out of the 5 counties under cessation of movement. Andrine Kilemi is in the CBD and now joins us live. Andrine, how is the situation?
Thank you so much, Mulandi. The situation right here, I would say, is a mad rush for travelers. Now, after President Kenyatta ordered a restriction of movement in the 5 counties, which are now referred to as COVID-19 diseased zone, travelers were caught in limbo. And right here at Mfangano Street in Nairobi Central Business District is where all is going down. Travelers who are moving to the north, to the western part of this country, that is Kisumu, Kitale and Kakamega, are in limbo. The public sector have taken advantage of their desperation and now have tripled and even doubled the fares. I will be speaking to a few of those that are hoping to travel today. If they make it, they'll be telling us how the situation has been, for how long they have been waiting, and whether the fares have been doubled or tripled. Now, if my camera person, Peter, could kindly pan to this direction, I will be speaking to you. Asante sana kwa muda wako. Hali imekuwa vipi tangu asubuhi? Umesubiri gari kwa muda gani?
Kwa majina naitwa Albert Kisame. Nimekaa hapa kwa muda. Ilikuwa ni safari kwenda side za Kakamega. Lakini kutoka saa 5 vile nimefika hapa, naona dalili ya gari hakuna, watu ni wengi, nauli imeongezwa mara 2. Sasa tunashindwa tutasafiri namna gani? Yes.
Kwa hivyo umesema umekuwa ukisubiri kwa muda wa saa ngapi hivi?
Masaa 3.
Masaa 3. Na nauli ambao wanalipisha ni shilingi ngapi?
Nauli yenye wanalipisha, nasikia wengine wanalipisha 3,000, na kawaida nauli yao tunapandianga gari inakuwa ni 1,000 ikiwa imepanda.
Kwa hivyo bado una matumaini kwamba utafika kule ambako unaelekea? Umesema ni Kakamega?
Yes. Kwa sasa hizi naona muda unazidi kuyoma, na masaa ya rais kutangaza kashu ni saa 2. Na kutoka hapa kusafiri mpaka Kakamega inakuanga ni masaa 8. Sasa unajua inategemea tena na safari. So itabidi ikiwa muda itakuwa imeyoma, sitaweza kusafiri, nizingatie masharti yenye iko na ningoje wakati mwingine kama naweza pata nafasi ya kusafiri. Yes.
Asante sana kwa muda wako Ruth. That is the situation right here at the North Rift shuttle stage where it is packed. Travelers are jammed here waiting to travel to the western part of the country. As I mentioned earlier, some are moving to Kisumu County, others are moving to Kitale. There are those that are heading to Kakamega. I think I'll find one more traveler who is going to speak to us and just shed light on how the situation is right here. Asante sana mami kwa muda wako. Unaweza kwanza kwa jina lako tueleze umekuwa ukisubiri gari kwa muda gani?
For an hour now. Yeah, I've been waiting for an hour. The prices are hiked. We were paying 1,500, now we are paying 3,000. It's very hectic. As you can see, we are all here waiting. So it is something that Kenyans are not expecting. We find it very, very unfair because I think the low-income earners are the ones who've been affected by this move, especially now that the students, all universities have been closed and they're supposed to travel. They're coming here and say they don't have the money. So now they have to travel home. So it's a very difficult situation for us.
So what do you think the government should have done instead of this?
I think the government should have maybe, first of all, the government needs to consult. There's never public participation in these decisions that the government just decides and wakes up one day and decides, you know, I'm banning traveling from this place to this place, I'm zoning up and doing this. You know, just they can have something worked out without necessarily, you know, closing down. It's very difficult. We are facing hard times. We can't raise our rents, we can't raise our fees, we can't raise anything. This country is unbearable. I don't know what we're going to do. What are we expected to do? I would like to ask Uhuru, what does he expect us to do as Kenyans? Because we've done everything. During the day, there are road constructions. If you look at Wayakiwe, there's a lot of construction going on there. So it happens during the day. He doesn't even take advantage of the curfew hours to ensure that those people do the construction during the curfew hours. So when we want to come to work, that's when they start constructing. So there is a lot of traffic, time wastage, depression. You don't have money. It's pathetic. I'm not saying the disease is there. We appreciate that, and we are taking our precautions. But we would have wanted that the government consider, because the low-income earners, where are we going to take this country? What will happen to us in the next 6 months? Yes, because these people are all going to go home, no income, nothing. So what are they going to be giving their children?
All right. Yes. Thank you so much for your time, Mulandi. That is the situation right here on Mfangano Street. As I mentioned earlier, we are at the North Rift shuttle stage where travelers are hopeful that they will make it to their destinations before 8 p.m., which is the designated